If you are hearing this, and part of you is already tired of hearing that you simply need more rest, stay. You slept the whole stretch. You did everything correctly, and you woke as if you had never left the room. This tiredness keeps being described by starseeds of this lineage in almost the same sentence, and almost always with an apology attached, as though being tired without a cause were a small failure of character. Nothing outside of you will punish you for turning this off. No one is keeping account. The cost of leaving is not a punishment. It is a continuation. The same stretch of sleep, the same waking, the same quiet arithmetic of how much you can carry on this little. There is a version of you that gets to be unguarded, not a version with a better routine. A version in which the sensing has an off switch, and you know where it is, and you are permitted to reach for it. That version is not far from you. It is simply never chosen, because no one described the reaching as something you were allowed to do. What you would be walking away from is not information, it is that life. The one where you are restored, instead of the one where you are efficient, functional, capable, and never once return to yourself. You are not weak. You are not broken. You are not sleeping wrong. Something in you stayed on duty, and duty does not know how to lie down. Not a rested body, not a quiet mind, an unguarded one. You did not arrive here by accident. Rest returns when the watching is set down. Let that sentence enter slowly. Soon you will see why the tiredness is not located in the sleeping at all, and why every attempt to solve it inside the sleeping has left you exactly where you started. Later you will discover why this exhaustion keeps being described by starseeds of this lineage in almost identical words, by people who have never spoken to one another, and what that repetition means once you stop treating it as a coincidence. And before this message ends, I will invite you into 2 short practices, not as a cure, not as a promise, but as a way of finding where the watching is held in you, and setting it down for as long as it will stay down. Some of it will stay down, some of it will not. Both are information. If something in you has already gone still, subscribe now, not as a casual click, but as a way of marking that you stopped explaining this away. Let that click mean, I am willing to look at what the tiredness is reporting, instead of arguing with it one more time. If the Pleiadian frame is yours, let this be the place you return to, rather than the place you passed. Nothing about the click changes your sleep. It changes nothing at all on its own. But an act you choose deliberately teaches the mind that a moment was real, and this moment is real whether or not you ever come back to it. There are 2 ways the Pleiadian temperament, as it is usually described, lives with the night. One asleep to itself, one awake to itself. The first is the vigilant life. You rest the way a guard rests, nearby, upright, ready. Sleep is a pause in the duty, not a release from it. You wake, and the first thing to arrive is the list. The second is the unguarded life. You rest the way a room rests when everyone has gone home. Nothing is being monitored. Nothing is being held in position by your attention. Nothing needs you to keep it steady while you are gone. One sleeps beside the day. One sleeps out of reach of it. One wakes and resumes. One wakes and arrives. One keeps availability open all night in case someone needs it. One lets availability close and trusts that the closing is not abandonment. Hear this clearly, because the vigilant life is not the failure in this story. That vigilance is competence. It was earned. It works. It has caught things before they landed on you, read rooms before they turned, kept you a half step ahead of what would have cost you more than tiredness. It is not a flaw in your design. It is a skill that was never given an ending. What have you actually been protecting all this time? What would still be standing if you stopped for 1 hour? And who taught you that stopping was the same as leaving? Do not answer quickly. None of this means the vigilant life is wasted. and none of it means the unguarded life arrives because you decided it should. It may simply mean that a thing which has run without interruption for years does not know it is allowed to pause and has never once been told, and you already know which path is calling you. Rest returns when the watching is set down. What follows is not a description of you. It is a description of what starseeds of this line keep arriving with. The same 12 sentences, in different words, from people who have never met. If several of them land, that is not a coincidence you need to explain. It is a pattern recognizing itself. And if none of them land, nothing here is a verdict on you. Let them pass. Have you ever slept the whole stretch and woken with the distinct sense that you were somewhere, doing something, the entire time? Maybe you have woken more tired than when you lay down, and had no explanation you were willing to say out loud. You may have felt that sleep gives you a pause, but never gives you back. Have you ever walked into a room and known the mood before anyone spoke? Maybe you have carried someone else's difficult state for hours, after they had already put it down. You may have felt responsible for the emotional temperature of a room you did not create. Have you ever felt homesick while sitting in your own home? Maybe you have missed somewhere you cannot name, and could not tell anyone what you were missing. You may have felt that a part of you is somewhere else, and the tiredness is the distance. Have you ever found rest harder to accept than work? Maybe you have been offered help and heard yourself declining before you had considered it. You may have felt safer being the one who holds than the one who is held. Let this settle. These sentences are not proof of anything, and they do not tell you who you are. They tell you that a particular arrangement of attention is common enough to be described, and that you are not the only one describing it. That is a smaller claim than it sounds. It is also more useful. If one of those 12 sentences was uncomfortably accurate, let the like stand for that one, not for me, for the recognition. Among those who find the word starseed useful, the tiredness is almost never the problem. It is the receipt. It is the record of what stayed employed while the rest of you lay down. You have been treating it as a malfunction, something to be corrected with a better routine, a darker room, a stricter hour. But a malfunction produces noise. This produces an accurate report, delivered in the only language a body has, and the report says, the sensing did not close. It is not laziness. It is not weakness. It is a reading. What if the exhaustion has been telling the truth the whole time? What if the reason no correction has worked is that there is nothing there to correct? What if you have been arguing with the one part of you that has never once lied to you? Take a moment. I am not telling you what your tiredness is caused by, and I am not telling you what will change. Not as a diagnosis, not as a prediction, but as an invitation to read the tiredness instead of arguing with it. A reading does not fix anything by itself. It only tells you where to stand. If that landed anywhere, put this in the comments, exactly as it is. I am aware of the part of me that never goes off duty. Not because typing a sentence guarantees an outcome, but because naming a part is the first thing that lets it be spoken to, rather than obeyed. Rest returns when the watching is set down. In the way Pleiadian lineage is spoken of, the sensing is not something you switch on. It is something you have never been shown how to set down. So we will not try to switch anything off. We will only look for where it is held. You do not have to close your eyes. You do not have to believe anything. You only have to stop adding for the length of this. Let your shoulders fall, not to where they think is correct, a full inch lower than that. They have a resting position they have agreed to, and it is not resting. Let the jaw loosen and unclench the back teeth, the ones that have been holding without being asked. Let the hands open. Let the fingers uncurl and the palms go unweighted, as though nothing needs to be kept from falling. Inhale stillness. Exhale, scanning. Inhale, wait. Exhale, hovering. Inhale, quiet. Exhale, static. Inhale, permission. Exhale, duty. Soften, sink, loosen, release, land. Let this settle. Nothing is being asked of you here. Now let something appear, and let it stay simple. A long corridor, 2 doors. The first door is open, and light spills out of it into the hallway all night, and you have left it open on purpose, because someone might need to find you. That light is not a mistake. It is a kindness with no closing time. Anyone who came looking would know where you were. Anyone who called out would be heard. And so the corridor is never dark, and neither are you. The second door is closed. Behind it, there is nothing to attend to. No one calling, no one arriving, no light needed, because nothing in that room requires seeing. It is not empty in the way a loss is empty. It is quiet in the way a room is quiet when the day is genuinely over. Stand between them. Feel the pull of the open one. Feel how the body leans toward it without being told. How staying available feels less like a choice than like gravity. That pull is not a flaw in you. It is a long habit of care. And then let this be true as well. The closed door is not a refusal of anyone. Nothing is being locked. No one is being turned away. It is only a room where you are not the light source. Which door have you been sleeping in front of? Do not force the answer. Let it rise on its own, in its own time, and if nothing rises, let that be the answer for now. Rest returns when the watching is set down. Whatever loosened in the stillness, mark it before it is overwritten by everything else. Those who carry what is called Pleiadian lineage tend to protect first and rest second, and the order rarely gets questioned. It is worth questioning now, because the part of you that never goes off duty was not built to exhaust you. It was built to keep you ahead of what could hurt you, and it has been doing that job, without relief, without acknowledgement, without a single night off, for a very long time. Think about what that actually means. Something in you decided, once, that the safest arrangement was to stay awake underneath everything else, and then it kept that arrangement. Through the years when it was necessary, through the years when it was not, through every room where nothing was coming, it stayed at the same readiness, because it had no way of being told the danger had passed. It did not fail you. It stayed. Say thank you before you ask it to sit down, because it will not leave a post it thinks is still needed. Not because gratitude changes anything by itself, but because a part that feels dismissed does not stand down. It digs in. It works harder. It reads the dismissal as proof that no one else is paying attention, which means it must. It was not laziness that kept it there. It was not fear. It was loyalty. So do not fight it. Do not call it a problem and try to remove it, because it will hear that as an attack and stay longer. Speak to it the way you would speak to something that has been standing in the same place for years on your behalf. Tell it the shift has changed. Tell it you are here. Tell it the room is already quiet and that you will be the one listening now, and then notice whether anything in your chest or your shoulders answers. Does it loosen when you say it, or does it tighten? Does it believe you, or does it wait to see whether you meant it? And what would it need to see before it would put the weight down? None of that is answered quickly, and none of it is answered by force. This does not mean the vigilance dissolves because you thanked it. It does not mean one conversation ends a habit that took years to build. It may simply mean that a part which has been treated as a malfunction begins, for the first time, to be treated as an ally, and allies negotiate. Enemies do not. Send this to the one person you know who is tired in a way sleep does not touch, not to convince them of anything, only so they have it if they want it. You have carried this thing for years without a name that fit it, and that is not a small detail. It is most of the difficulty. What you have been calling tiredness has been given many names by people trying to describe the same interior thing, and the naming has always outnumbered the understanding. Some called it depletion, some called it heaviness, some called it static. Every one of those words points at the same place, and none of them arrive. That is not because the people naming it were careless. It is because the thing being named does not sit where the words were looking. This keeps being described by starseeds of this lineage as a thing they only noticed once someone named it, not discovered, noticed. There is a difference, and the difference matters. A discovery arrives from outside and adds something you did not have. A noticing turns your attention toward what was already running, in plain view, all along. And here is the part that is not usually said openly, because it sounds too small to be worth saying. Stop watching. 4 words. 4 words do not sound like an answer to something that has cost you years, and so the mind rejects them before they finish landing, the way it rejects any solution that is cheaper than the problem. It only becomes credible in stillness. That is the whole difficulty with it. In stillness, it cannot be argued with, and stillness is exactly what a vigilant system will not schedule. It is not a secret. It is not withheld. It is unbelievable at the speed most of us live at. No guarantee, no fantasy, no empty promise. A name is a handle, not a solution. Naming it will not lift it. It will only give you something to take hold of, and you cannot set down what you cannot get your hands around. So put your hands around it now. In the comments, exactly this. I choose to stop guarding what does not need guarding. Not because typing a sentence guarantees an outcome, but because a choice, said plainly, is harder to quietly walk back. Rest returns when the watching is set down. What is described as the Pleiadian pattern is not extra sensitivity. It is sensitivity that was never given a closing time. So we are not going to reduce anything. We are going to look for where it is being held, in the only place it can actually be found. Nothing to reach for here. If your attention drifts, that is not a failure. That is the first thing loosening. Begin at the crown. Notice whether it is holding, and if it is, let it be less. Move behind the eyes. Notice whether they are still scanning something that is not in the room, and if they are, let them be less. The throat. Notice whether it is holding a sentence it did not say. Let it be less. The shoulders, which you already lowered once, and which have quietly come back up, let them be less. The chest, the belly, where the breath has been shallow enough to keep you alert, let it be less. The hands, the hips, the legs, and the soles of the feet, which have been ready to stand this entire time, let them be less. Inhale slack. Exhale bracing. Inhale warmth. Exhale alertness. Inhale downward. Exhale watching. Inhale enough. Exhale readiness. Notice, loosen, lower, let go, stay. Let that settle where it landed. Do not tidy it. Now let a single thread appear. It runs from the crown to the soles, straight through the length of you, and it is held taut by something above. Feel the tautness, because the tautness is the whole talent. Every sound in the house travels that thread. Every mood in a room travels it. Every unfinished thing, every shift in someone's voice, every change in the air before anyone else registers it. All of it comes up the line, instantly, perfectly. The thread transmits without loss. That is why nothing gets past you. That is why it never has. And a thread strung that tight cannot rest. It is not resting now. It is transmitting even here. So let it lower, not cut. Let the tension release from above, and let the thread come down, resting along you, rather than pulling through you. Still intact, still yours. Still the same thread, the same reach, the same fineness of attunement it always had. Simply no longer strung. Nothing has been severed. Nothing has been given away. Nothing is lost. It is only set down, and a thing set down can be picked up again by anyone who put it there. Where in your body is the thread still held taut? Do not force the answer. Let it rise. Let this one seal what just happened in your body, rather than what you thought about it. Whether or not the word Pleiadian belongs to you, this is where the recognition tends to land. Not on the sleeping, not on the hours, here. Rest is the version of you that no longer stands guard over a room that is already quiet. Read that again inside yourself, slowly. Rest is not a quantity you failed to accumulate. It is not a technique you have not yet found, not a discipline you lack, not a reward held back until you have earned it. It is a version of you. It is what you are when the guarding stops, and it has been available underneath the guarding the entire time. Unreachable for one reason only. Someone has been standing in front of a room that no longer needs standing in front of. Not a fixed self, not a finished self, an off-duty self. And notice what that sentence does not ask of you. It does not ask you to become sensitive to less. It does not ask you to care about fewer people, or notice fewer things, or dull the instrument that has made you useful to everyone who has ever needed you. The instrument stays, only the shift changes. Not magically, not instantly, but gradually, and only in the moments you actually let the post go unattended. Not the moments you plan to, the moments you do. Most of them will be brief. That is not a failure of the practice. Brief is how it begins. Something in you may want to make this into a station now, a rank, a confirmation that you were selected. Let that want be there, and then let it be more accurate than it wants to be. Being chosen is not being given more capacity than the people around you. Nobody handed you a finer instrument and a thinner skin as a distinction. It is not a debt, and it does not mean the exhaustion was assigned to you on purpose, by anyone, for any reason you are meant to decode. And it is not a rank. There is no one above you holding a list with your name on it, deciding when you have suffered enough of this to graduate. What it is willingness. It is attention that keeps returning to the same question instead of turning away from it. It is the refusal to go back to sleep in the version of yourself that was easier to carry, the one that was tired and did not ask, that explained it away and kept going, that would have closed this and gone back to the arithmetic. Lineage, in the way Pleiadian lineage is spoken of, is not a rank you were issued. It is a shape of attention that keeps showing up in the same people, offered as a frame, never as a fact about where you came from. You decide whether the word is useful to you. The pattern does not need your agreement to keep describing itself. If you want that to hold, write it where you will see it again, in the comments. I am becoming someone who can be unguarded and still be safe. Not because typing a sentence guarantees an outcome, but because identity is built from sentences you are willing to say about yourself before they feel true. Rest returns when the watching is set down. People who call themselves starseeds tend to arrive at the same place. The practice is not more rest. It is permission to stop scanning. So there are 3 things, and they are small on purpose. First, once during the day, catch the watching in the act. not to stop it, only to notice the moment your attention leaves your own body and goes out into the room. You will feel it as a slight forward lean that has nothing to do with your posture. Catch it once. That is the whole instruction. Not to correct it, not to judge it, not to hold it still. A habit that is seen behaves differently from a habit that is not, and that is the only claim being made here. Second, find 1 hour away from the noise and let nothing be monitored in it. No input, no checking, no availability. Nothing that requires you to remain reachable. And if that hour feels wasteful, notice that too, because that is the vigilance speaking, and it is worth hearing what it says. It will tell you what it thinks will happen if you are unreachable. Listen to the reason it gives. That reason has been running your nights. Third, within the next 24 hours, sit for 2 minutes, put your hands open on your knees, and say the mantra once, out loud, so the body hears it in your own voice rather than in mine. 1 action, not 10 actions. 1, not because a posture changes reality, but because symbolic actions can help mark inner transitions. The open hands are not a technique. They are simply the opposite of what hands do when they are holding something in place. And then let this be true, so it does not catch you later. This is a first step, not the destination. The watching will come back on. It will come back on quickly, probably by the time the day has fully resumed. And when it does, you will be tempted to decide that nothing here worked. That is not a relapse. That is a habit doing what habits do. And each time you notice it, it is slightly less automatic. That is the whole arc. Not a night that changes everything, a noticing that gets faster, and a coming back on that gets easier to see. No promise attached to it, only a direction. Next, we will look at why starseeds of this lineage so often confuse solitude with withdrawal, and how to tell which one you are actually in. Because the two feel almost identical from the inside, and one of them restores you, while the other quietly does not. Then stay for the last 3 lines. Let the click mean you intend to come back to this, and not only to remember it. Is the room you are guarding still dangerous? Was it ever the room, or was it always the standing? And what would you be in a life where nothing needed watching for 1 hour? Do not answer quickly. If the Pleiadian frame is yours, let it be a description of how you are made, and not one more thing to live up to. Nothing here is a task. Nothing here is a standard you are already behind on. The sensing is not a duty you were given. It is only a capacity that has never been shown its own closing time, and closing times can be learned late. So, set it down. Let yourself be unattended. Rest returns when the watching is set down.